Coming up on Arirang News, South Korean President Moon Jae-in calls on lawmakers in parliament to get to work on the government's extra budget bill. It's urgent, he says, to help people affected by disasters and to boost the economy. South Korea's finance minister warns that the U.S. China trade war could affect Korea more than previously thought. Stocks have been volatile and the Korean won has weakened considerably. And Google has reportedly cut off Chinese tech giant Huawei from some of its main products, like its Android operating system. This follows the Trump administration's blacklisting of Huawei last week. It's 4 p.m. here in Seoul. Thanks for tuning in to our afternoon broadcast. I'm Devin Whiting. President Moon, in a meeting with his top aides, has called on lawmakers to take up the government's extra budget bill, which has been stalled in Parliament because of partisan differences. Here's the president.
이번 추경은 미세먼지와 강원도 산불, 포항 지진 등 재해 대책 예산과 경기 대응 예산 두 가지로 구성되어 있습니다. 어느 것 하나 시급하지 않은 것이 없습니다.
President Moon noted that plans for an extra budget were recently welcomed by the IMF, and he emphasized the need to time the spending to get the desired outcomes. Meanwhile, looking at new growth engines for the Korean economy, he directed his aides to promote the biohealth industry. Korea recently made it onto the EU's white list for pharmaceuticals, which is expected to help exports. Meanwhile, President Moon met with Denmark's Crown Prince Frederik and Princess Mary to discuss ways to deepen bilateral ties as they celebrate the 60th anniversary of their two countries establishing diplomatic relations. President Moon thanked the Crown Prince for visiting Korea with his business and cultural delegations and said he hopes the peoples of the two countries will form closer connections. Prince Frederik expressed hopes that their talks can help strengthen ties between the two countries, both founding members of the P4G initiative. He said the two countries have been cooperating on sustainable development for more than 8 years, and said he hopes meetings like today's can help expand the initiative. During their official state visit from Monday to Wednesday, the prince and princess are also scheduled to meet with Prime Minister Lee Na-gyun and Danish business leaders in Korea and visit the demilitarized zone. South Korea will seek to establish a state investigative agency that will manage probes by the police. The decision was reached in a meeting this morning between representatives of the ruling Democratic Party, the government, and the presidential office. The new agency will prevent inappropriate intervention by high-ranking police officials. The three sides also agreed to revise legislation to prevent police in charge of collecting intelligence from becoming involved in illegal acts, such as the surveillance of civilians. These are part of plans to reform the country's police organization to address concerns that it may become too powerful. The National Assembly recently fast-tracked a bill that would boost the investigative rights of the police by diluting those of the prosecution. The three sides said the bill is not about empowering a particular organization, but instead being able to keep each side in check and better protect people's rights and interests. They also vowed to come up with further measures to ensure the increased authority of the police is not abused. The floor leaders of the ruling Democratic Party, the main opposition Liberty Korea Party, and the minor opposition Bareunmirae Party will meet for beer tonight in hopes of ending a prolonged standstill at the National Assembly. It'll be the first three-way meeting between them, as two of the floor leaders were newly elected this month. Eyes are on whether they'll be able to find a much-needed breakthrough, especially with lawmakers having to deliberate on bills related to people's livelihoods, as well as the government's extra budget proposal. The National Assembly had been out of action for weeks now, with tensions peaking after the ruling party and minor opposition bloc fast-tracked key reform bills, despite the main opposition party's strong resistance. Seoul will soon start procedures to deliver an $8 million donation to North Korea through the World Food Program and UNICEF. In the meantime, it'll continue listening to public opinion on the matter, but there's still no response from the North about those plans. Oh Jung-hee has more.
South Korea is soon to begin the procedures required for the $8 million contribution to the UN for humanitarian assistance to North Korea. Seoul's Unification Ministry had said last Friday.
The government sees that humanitarian assistance to the north should be separate from political situations. South Korea has decided to donate $8 million to the World Food Programme and UNICEF for projects in North Korea on nutritional support and maternal and child health.
In 2017, South Korea had decided to offer the North humanitarian aid worth $8 million through UNICEF and the World Food Programme. That assistance, which had to be given by 2018, was never sent. Now Seoul has to go through legislative procedures from the very beginning to execute that fund. Seoul is to first discuss with the UN agencies about how the money should be spent and then begin domestic procedures to deliver that fund, which includes some voting processes. Seoul is to prepare its food aid to the north separately. South Korea's presidential office announced last Friday after holding the National Security Council meeting that it'll collect opinions from the public and review specific options, including whether to assist the North directly or indirectly through the World Food Programme. Seoul's Unification Minister met last week with religious and civic groups and local experts and will meet with university heads and religious leaders this week to discuss the issue. Meanwhile, there's no response from the North yet on Seoul's humanitarian aid announcement. For the past 3 days, Pyongyang's propaganda outlets have only urged the South to, quote, stop depending on foreign forces, criticizing Seoul's recent bilateral working group meeting with Washington. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
It's emerged that China gave rice and fertilizer to North Korea last year. That's despite UN Security Council sanctions that prohibit any large-scale economic assistance to the regime. According to data from China's Customs Office, Beijing gave the North 1,000 tons of rice worth about $1 million between May and October 2018. The data also showed China sent 162,000 tons of fertilizer, worth more than $55 million. The shipments of apparently free assistance came shortly after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's visit to China in March last year, when he held his first summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping. He might be the hottest pitcher in all of Major League Baseball right now. South Korea's Ryu Hyun-jin has thrown yet another scoreless game in the MLB. And he's a strong contender now for the All-Star game later this year, which would be his first. Lee Seung-jae reports.
They call him the Korean Monster, and there's no arguing the LA Dodgers ace pitcher Ryu Hyun-jin is enjoying a monster season. He threw yet another scoreless ballgame on Sunday, this time against the Cincinnati Reds. Ryu threw 7 innings, giving up just 5 hits while striking out 5 Reds, helping his team win 8-3 and improving his record to 6-1. His latest gem gives him 31 innings without giving up a single run, lowering his ERA to 1.52, the best in the majors. What's even more impressive is his control, giving up only 4 walks during the entire season. He also holds the best strikeout-to-walk ratio in the majors. But a big question remains, will the lefty make his first career All-Star Game appearance when the annual game is held in Cleveland this summer? While the experts say yes, the bigger question is whether he might even start for the National League. With Max Scherzer having a down year, it could be a choice between Ryu, Zach Davies of the Milwaukee Brewers, John Lester of the Chicago Cubs, or Ryu's former teammate Zach Greinke of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And with Dave Roberts, the manager of the LA Dodgers, leading the National League squad, Ryu could get the nod as the starting pitcher. The impressive season could not have come at a better time for the hefty lefty, as he's currently on his contract year after being granted a 1-year qualifying offer of $17.9 million to stay with the Dodgers. If Ryu avoids injury, he could command a monster contract in postseason, especially with super agent Scott Boras as his negotiator. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Yet another BTS music video has hit the 100 million view mark on YouTube. This time it's a solo video by BTS member V for the song Singularity. They're calling it a comeback trailer for the album Love Yourself Tear, which came out a year ago. The video broke the 100 million view mark on Sunday at around 6:50 p.m. Korea time. It's since got another 250,000 views. This is the 20th video by BTS to have reached that milestone. When Singularity first came out a year ago, it became the fastest solo K-pop video to reach 10 million views. May is a month for family here in Korea, with Parents' Day and Children's Day both in this month. And today is Coming of Age Day, when tradition has it that kids turning 20 this year become adults. Our Lee Min-sun went to a ceremony for it and files this report.
The third Monday of May is celebrated as Coming of Age Day for young South Koreans, marking their transition to adulthood. This year, some 630,000 people born in the year 2000 are starting a new chapter of their lives, which was celebrated at the Seoul Donhwamun Traditional Theater. Dozens of youth who are turning 20 years old gathered here to celebrate the coming of age with their families and friends. These celebrations date back to the early 10th century during the Goryeo dynasty. Tradition would have young men and women take on the ways of adults in their grooming and dress. The men would tie their hair into a top knot and don the traditional horsehair headdress called a gat. And the women would roll their hair into a bun with the traditional jade hairpin called a binyeo.
Our whole family came to celebrate a big day for my son.
I'm glad to be able to spend the day with my family. I also learned a lot about Hanbok. I'm looking forward to a happy life with my family. Love you, Mom and Dad.
I hadn't really thought of myself as an adult, since I'm still a student and economically dependent on my parents. But today got me thinking about what being an adult means.
Participants made their own hairpieces and listened to a brief lecture about the history of this day and their responsibilities and duties as grown-ups.
It's a ritual acknowledging that a child has become an adult. It's one way we learn to become responsible members of society.
These adults can now vote, they can drive a car, choose to get married, drink alcohol, or smoke. So events like these are held throughout the country to encourage new adults with their freedom to use it wisely. Lee Min-sun, Arirang News.
Trade tensions between China and the U.S. seem to be reaching new heights following a decision by Google regarding Huawei. And South Korea is keeping a close eye on the situation to minimize the negative impact on the local economy. Kim Hae-sung reports.
Finance Minister Hong Nam-gi is warning the escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and China could affect the South Korean economy more seriously than previously thought.
The government will prepare for all possibilities and strive to minimize the impact on the local economy.
The world's two largest economies are South Korea's top two trading partners and together account for nearly 40% of the country's total exports. Given that near 80% of Seoul's exports to Beijing are intermediary goods, the Korea International Trade Association says the U.S. China trade tariffs, including Trump administration's 25% tariff hike on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods this month, could pull down South Korea's overall exports by 0.14% or more. Minister Hong said despite South Korea's record foreign currency reserves, volatility in the local financial market and $1 exchange rate have increased. He also vowed to monitor markets closely and take necessary countermeasures if required. The benchmark Kospi has fallen to a 4-month low and the Korean won has weakened to nearly 1,200 won against the greenback. To help exporters, the finance minister again called on the National Assembly to pass the extra budget bill as soon as possible, which includes over $900 million in trade-related financing and export marketing. He added the government will continue to diversify South Korea's trading partners and come up with measures to support local exporters in consumer goods and services by June. Regarding the Trump administration's announcement to delay its tariff decision on imported cars for 6 months, he said the government will continue all outreach efforts and help strengthen the competitiveness of South Korean automakers. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
It's time now for an in-depth look at the global markets, including Korea. And for that, I'm joined on the line by Dr. Hwang Se-eun, Research Fellow at the Korea Capital Market Institute. Dr. Hwang, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me today.
So, as we just heard, the won has fallen against the dollar to the weakest level in 2 years or more. We're now flirting with 1,200 won to the dollar. What happens if we break that threshold, and do you see a need for the financial authorities to intervene?
Last Friday, the local currency closed at 1,195.5 won to the dollar, marking a 28-month low against the greenback over the trade frictions between the United States and China. Today, the local currency was trading at 1,194 won against the greenback as of 4 p.m., down 1.51 from the previous session's close. Concerns over excessive rise in the $1 exchange rate are increasing as the local currency approaches the threshold 1,200 won to the dollar. However, there is no need to give too much meaning to the threshold of 1,200 won. We need to pay more attention to the price volatility and speed of price change. Some market participants suggest that South Korean financial authorities need to intervene in the foreign exchange market to stem the decline of the local currency against the U.S. dollar. However, the possibility is still quite limited because the price volatility is within acceptable range so far.
Well, here we saw the Kospi closing dead even today. That's Korea's main stock market. It's taken a beating in recent weeks, still in the 2050 range, and the Kosdaq down just a bit. What was driving the trade today?
South Korean shares traded just a little lower on Monday and gave up earlier gains as investors await the next move in the U.S. China trade dispute. The benchmark Kospi almost didn't move at all, while Kosdaq Composite lost 1.69%, which is much worse performance than the Kospi. Modest losses on Monday came as financial markets remained on edge over intensifying U.S.-China trade war, with the Trump administration last week adding Huawei technologies to a trade blacklist. Trade negotiations between the United States and China would not have clear conclusion in the near term. Considering the weak local currency and issues over demand and supply in the stock markets, the investors' appetite is not favorable, especially from the foreign investors. Investors need to take more conservative approaches as the stock markets are expected to show more volatile price movements.
Well, let's zoom out for a bit. We have the trade war, of course, between the U.S. and China escalating. It seems like maybe a growing likelihood of an interest rate cut. What should we be watching for the rest of this week?
Here are some notable events coming up this week. The minutes of the FOMC's April 30th, May 1st policy meeting, released Wednesday, may reveal the levels of consensus around Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's assertion that officials didn't see a strong case for moving interest rates in either direction. On Thursday, on account of the April meeting of the European Central Bank could reveal more about the discussion that saw the review of negative rates inserted into President Mario Draghi's opening statement. Counting of votes from the Indian general election takes place Thursday as Prime Minister Narendra Modi attempts to secure a second term. Most commentators predict the government will be returned, though with a reduced number of seats.
Got it. All right. Thanks, Dr. Huang. That's where we'll have to leave it today. We appreciate your insights, as always.
Thank you very much.
Well, as we referenced in a dramatic escalation in the U.S. war on Chinese tech firms, Google has reportedly cut off some of its business ties with Chinese tech giant Huawei. Kim Yo-sun reports.
Reuters is reporting that Google has suspended transactions with Huawei that require the transfer of hardware and software products, except those covered by open source licenses. Citing an unnamed source, the report said the move deals a blow to the Chinese tech giant, as Huawei will immediately lose access to Google's Android operating system. New Huawei smartphone releases will lose access to popular applications and services, including the Google Play Store, Gmail, and YouTube. This comes as the U.S. Commerce Department officially added Huawei Technologies and its 68 affiliates to a trade blacklist late last week. Amid continued trade tensions between the world's two largest economies, the top diplomats of Beijing and Washington held a phone conversation on Sunday to discuss possible solutions. According to Beijing's foreign ministry, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, quote, not to go too far. He also stressed that Washington's recent words and actions have harmed the interests of China and its businesses. While explaining that Beijing is willing to resolve differences through negotiations, Wang added they should be on equal footing, hinting that it might be difficult to solve the prolonged trade war. Kim Yo-san, Arirang News.
Today is World Metrology Day, a celebration of the weights and measures established under the International System of Units. And as of today, the kilogram has a new definition. Our Che Shi-young explains.
Scientists have come up with a new, more accurate standard for defining the kilogram. The current kilogram standard is the mass of a cylinder known as Lagrange K, which has height and diameter of just over 39 millimeters, and is made of 90% platinum and 10% iridium. It is stored in a vault outside of Paris. However, the processes of oxidation and hydrocarbon contamination have added mass to the cylinder over the last 130 years. The fine change in mass is crucial to the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries, which need accurate measurement. Starting May 20th, the World Metrology Day, the kilogram will be redefined by a new standard maintained by the Kibble balance. The balance measures the electric current required to support the weight of a standard kilogram mass in a magnetic field. Because the balance has a fixed value, it can precisely measure the weight of an object. Korean researchers are also working on reducing the measurement uncertainty of the locally developed Kibble balance.
The accuracy of South Korea's Kibble balance is slightly behind that of the world standard of the US and Canada. But with further studies done over the next 4 to 5 years, we expect to reach that world-class accuracy.
The change to the standard of mass will be crucial for high-tech industries such as semiconductor sectors, but researchers say that the change will not have a noticeable effect on our daily life. Che Shi-young, Arirang News.
Now, with an increasing number of Koreans embracing vegetarian diets, more plant-based meat products are being introduced to the country, and companies have been working to mimic not only the flavor and texture of meat, but also its juiciness. Park Se-young has this report.
The patties sizzling on the grill are made of plants, with their main ingredient being pea protein. At this burger joint, veggie burgers are usually ordered by vegetarians and foreign customers.
We're offering an option for customers who have trouble digesting beef, do not like beef, or are looking for healthy food.
According to industry sources, about 10,000 packages of the meat-free patty product made by a plant-based food company in the U.S. were sold in just 1 month after being introduced to Korean customers in March. And Korea's Lotte Food has recently launched plant-based nuggets made of wheat protein. They're said to have preserved not only the taste and texture of chicken, but also meat juices using plant-based oil.
Because the nuggets are made of plant-based protein, they have high protein content and low fat and calories. They also do not contain cholesterol.
Vegan patties made using beans have been shunned by many in the past because their texture is different from actual meat. While it's still difficult for meat substitutes to resemble the actual thing, companies have been working to create a meat-like taste and texture by using vegetable protein and ingredients like fiber and yeast. According to the Korea Vegetarian Union, 1 to 1.5 million Koreans are estimated to be vegetarians, which is more than 10 times the 150,000 vegetarians in 2008. And with more people looking for food that's good for both the body and the environment, industry experts expect sales of plant-based meat substitutes to rapidly increase in the near future. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
And that brings us to the end of this newscast. Thanks for being with us. More live news coming your way at 7 p.m. Korea time.
Following the Inter-Korean summits and the North Korea-U.S. summits, a journey toward peace on the Korean peninsula has become inevitable. 2019 will see countless twists and turns in negotiations as all parties involved work to build peace and search for a winning solution. Peace and Prosperity will explore paths to find these resolutions with a special emphasis on the expected role of Seoul. Peace and Prosperity. Arirang TV's signature talk show, Heart to Heart. We bring in world leaders, business people, experts, celebrities, artists, and Koreans who have made an impact in Korea's status in the world. Hear their professional and personal life stories, as well as their social and political views, achievements, secrets to success, and future plans. Don't miss your chance to catch the engaging interview, Heart to Heart. Stunning visuals, stylish editing, Arts Avenue. From age-old traditions to modern styles, explore in detail Korea's culture and arts by introducing the latest showcases around town and offering insight to the trends and traits of Korean creativity. Discover the beauty and depth of Korean culture and arts on Arts Avenue.
When I'm in your arm, be it nighttime or the day. We got it all right here. We got it all right here. We got it all right here. We got it all right here.
달라졌으면 해. Yeah. 아님이라도 시원하게 퍼보죠. 우리기만 해 all day. Yeah. 먹구름이 나를 따라서 떠다녀. 친구의 전화도 또 모른 척하고 하루가 지나서야 답장해.
Wine that fills the cup of silence.
The medicine of the broken hearts.
The most expensive noise known to mankind.
Countless individuals have staked their lives on music.
What stories do these music lovers have to tell?
What does music mean to you? What does it mean to me?
We are in Itaewon, Seoul's very own global village, where people of different nationalities and ethnicities gather. Here, the communication tool that helps overcome the language barrier is none other than music. I'm on my way to meet a team I know since a while, part-time cooks. Let's go.
To me, Korea means a second home, but so many faces letting me know I ain't alone. Won't stop till I see the beast fall domino. I ain't on TDE, but I'm down with high power though. When you other rappers can call me father, I'm in Seoul trying to get this shit started. 7:30. This yayo in my halo, the fatal cable.
It's celebrated at